Julian Alfred looking smooth in six. Julian Alfred is going to take the win here, 21-5.
Julian Alfred just did something Gabby Thomas could not stop. In Monaco, the two lined up together again, the same two women from the Paris Olympic 200-meter final, where Thomas took gold and Alfred settled for silver. This time was different. Alfred ran herself into the top 3 fastest women in 200-meter history. Here's exactly how it happened. The meeting Hercules EBS is the 10th stop on the 2026 Wanda Diamond League season, and every July it turns Stade Louis II into one of the fastest tracks in the world. This is the same track where Faith Kipyegon lowered the women's mile world record, and where Joshua Cheptegei once broke the 5,000-meter world record, a stage that has a habit of producing history. On July 10, 2026, the women's 200 meters brought together the 3 fastest women in the world this season for the first time. Julien Alfred of St. Lucia, Gabby Thomas of the United States, Adaejah Hodge of the British Virgin Islands. This was not just another Diamond League final. It was a collision of 3 different stories. An Olympic champion chasing the title that got away from her, a returning champion proving her body could still hold up, and a college sprinter who had already broken records that had stood since before some of her competitors turned professional. 3 different countries, 3 different paths to the same start line. Only one of them could leave Monaco with the fastest time in the world. Julian Alfred's story in the 200 meters started with heartbreak. At the Paris 2024 Olympics, Alfred had already won the 100 meters in a national record of 10.72 seconds, giving St. Lucia its first ever Olympic medal. Only a handful of women in Olympic history have ever won both the 100 and 200 meters at the same games. 2 days after her 100-meter win, Alfred returned for the 200 meters final, chasing that same rare sprint double. Gabby Thomas ran away from the field down the home straight and won gold in 21.83 seconds. Alfred crossed second in 22.07, taking silver instead of a second gold. That loss stayed with her. Alfred kept building. In July of 2025, she ran a personal best of 21.71 seconds to win in London, a mark that stood as the 9th fastest 200-meter run of all time. Earlier in the 2026 season, Alfred had already beaten American Melissa Jefferson Wooden to win the 200 meters at the Rome Diamond League in 21.93 seconds. By the time she reached Monaco, she was the reigning Olympic 100-meter champion and one of the most in-form sprinters on the circuit, arriving with a season best of 21.86 seconds. Speaking to reporters the day before the race, Alfred said she felt strong physically and mentally after a month of rest, and that she was excited to be back racing in Monaco, the city where she ran her first ever Diamond League meet as a professional. This race was her chance to finally settle the score with the woman who had beaten her in Paris. Gabby Thomas arrived in Monaco carrying her own story of resilience. Her Olympic gold in Paris made her the first American woman to win the 200 meters since 2012. But 2025 brought a serious setback. An Achilles injury that first appeared in May grew worse over the summer, forcing Thomas out of the 2025 World Championships in Tokyo. She had qualified for that team by finishing 3rd at the United States Championships by 1,000th of a second, but the injury would not allow her to compete. Before the injury took hold, 2025 had started well. Thomas won both the 200 and 400 meters at the season-opening Grand Slam track meet in Kingston, Jamaica in April, showing the same form that carried her to Olympic gold the year before. She closed out that season with a personal best still standing at 21.60 seconds, a mark that made her the 2nd fastest woman in American history behind only Florence Griffith Joyner. Monaco marked her first Diamond League appearance in the 200 meters in 2 years, a true test of whether the reigning Olympic champion could still compete at the very top after so much time away from the circuit. At just 20 years old, Adaejah Hodge walked into Monaco as the world leader in the 200 meters. Weeks earlier, the University of Georgia sprinter had broken the collegiate record with a time of 21.68 seconds at the NCAA Outdoor Championships, erasing the mark Abby Steiner had set in 2022. That same NCAA meet, Hodge also ran a personal best of 10.63 seconds in the 100 meters, moving her into the top 5 fastest women in history over that distance. At the Paris 2024 Olympics, an 18-year-old Hodge ran in the 200-meter semifinals as the youngest competitor in the event. Julian Alfred won that very heat in 21.98 seconds, while Hodge finished 8th in 22.70 and did not advance. 2 years later, the teenager who once trailed Alfred off the track in Paris arrived in Monaco with a faster season best than either Olympic champion in the field. Nobody in that race could afford to overlook her. Under the lights at Stade Louis II, Alfred and Thomas drew lanes 6 and 7, side by side, guaranteeing the two Olympic champions would see each other for the entire race. Hodge lined up close by, ready to chase them both down. When the gun fired, Alfred did not get the sharpest start. Her reaction off the blocks was slower than she wanted. For a moment, it looked like the same story that played out in Paris 2 years earlier might repeat itself. But Alfred attacked the turn hard, driving through the bend with her arms pumping and her stride opening up, and by the time the field straightened out for the home stretch, she already held a small lead over Thomas. The two Olympic champions were locked together, entering the final straight, stride for stride, with neither woman able to fully break away. In a dominant display at Monaco, Julian Alfred surged over the final 50 meters to clock a lifetime best of 21.51 seconds, shaving 0.2 off her previous mark. While her start was imperfect, her superior finishing speed propelled her past Gabby Thomas, who held on for third in 21.84. Adaejah Hodge closed fiercely from the outside to snatch second in 21.76. For Alfred, the victory was a sweet redemption against the Olympic champion, signaling a long-awaited breakthrough. "It's not about the reaction time, it's about how you finish," she noted afterward. Surprised by the clock, Alfred celebrated with the same raw intensity that defined her Olympic title, proving she is in career best form. The time moved Alfred to third on the all-time performer list in the 200 meters. Only American Florence Griffith Joyner and Jamaica's Shericka Jackson have ever run faster. It also stood as a new St. Lucia national record, a new meeting Hercules record, and the fastest 200-meter time run by any woman in 2026. Julian Alfred came to Monaco chasing the title Gabby Thomas took from her in Paris 2 years earlier. She left with a lifetime best, a national record, and a place among only 2 women in history who have ever run the 200 meters faster. She also left as the clear world leader in the event, ahead of both the reigning Olympic champion and the fastest college sprinter alive. The Diamond League circuit moves to London on July 18th, and the biggest test still waits in September, when the World Athletics Ultimate Championship in Budapest brings the world's best together for the first time in this new championship format. Alfred, Thomas, and Hodge may well share a starting line again before the season ends. But for one night on the French Riviera, it was Julian Alfred who owned the 200 meters, and the clock that proved it.